Okay, here's where we are from the last time, except that I have gone and put some darks in around his face. And here's our posterization piece, our value study. And you can see I went really dark here all around. Well, here I'd rather have just a few spots of real dark. Um, I'm not sure about this area yet. I actually got this shirt drawn wrong right there. So it looked a little bit unnatural, although that could be a shirt overlapping his waddle. But I decided to kind of reform that a little bit. One of the things that we have to watch out for is when you've got that strong dark, you've got to have, or frequently, there should be a nice transition between the dark and the other area. It depends. But for instance, here his neck would be in shadow because this is dark, and you can see in the photograph that there is a lot of dark here. You just try to find the actual edge between the skin and the shirt there. It's pretty much just all blending in together, and it's important to notice that and do something similar on your painting because it will look a whole lot more convincing, because these transition areas are important. You can see the edge here between the, partly because of a color change here and partly because this isn't quite as dark, but there's a pretty subtle difference between this spot and this spot. Oh, also, some of you, particularly when we did this, see the eyebrows came out really strong. You want to be careful that, see the outline areas around the eyes? I don't have them quite as dark as I do the pupils. You want to be careful that this doesn't make him look like an Egyptian or something. So you want some of these transition areas, like this area right here. This would be better if, I don't have any of that color mixed. Maybe this is similar. But this would be better if this area had a little bit more transition right there. Of course, our objective with this was to split him up into just 5 values. But ear a little red. But see, this softens that transition and looks a lot more natural right here. So I want you to watch for those kind of things as we continue to build his face. So I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that, oops, this is still way weak over here. By the way, let's talk about color. Particularly on a male, you will have a little bit of 5 o'clock shadow in the skin, even if he's just shaved. There'll be a little bit more of a dark, cool colored area in through here, unless he's a redhead. There'll be a little bit more of shadow from the beard, still showing in the skin. This area right in here tends to be the reddest part of the face. The upper lip tends to be a little on the cool side, but the lips are kind of reddish. And then the nose and the cheeks tend to be a little redder. And then as you come up this way, it gets cooler. It doesn't mean that I always paint them that way. It's sort of, sometimes I need an extra bit of red somewhere. I'll just put it there. Because I think the painting needs it, but oh, that's another story. Okay, so I've got my Quin Rose and some new gamboge, and I want to mix those again where I'm getting kind of a peach color. Maybe something like that. And, okay, here's what he looks like right now. I'll get him up where you can see him on the camera. People have been reminding me to do that. So we need a lot more shape in here, and I'm still putting the shape in this peachy red. Uh, I could actually make him lobster red if I wanted to, and still change it later. Um, but I'm doing most of my actual shaping with the reds. And by the way, oh yeah, ears. Ears are nearly always redder. Especially if there's any light coming through them. So I think this area over the nose could get a little darker. Right in here. And I think I want a little more shape here at the tip of the nose, and that could get red. Okay. So let's maybe soften some of these edges. Water neutral brush. In this case, because we're working very small, the water neutral brush should have, you know, a little less water in. I call it neutral. You know, it's not really neutral. Let's go ahead and let's deepen some more of this, like we just did on this piece. And the ear should get redder. Yeah, we could pull a little more red right in down here. And this is all going to be darker, so why don't we just go ahead and deepen that. Actually, we'll deepen just about all of that. Okay, so while that's drying, let's just come down here and look at the hands. And definitely need some more shape on the hands. A good place to start is right where this hand is casting a shadow on that one. And of course there's shadow at the bottom of the hand too. So I might follow along there on the hand. By the way, you know, I didn't paint all this darker yet, or this is just a demo piece. So I'm leaving the clothing to you. Most of y'all are pretty good with that kind of thing now. Okay, that much, and let's soften edges. Okay, water neutral brush. I could have made that a crisp shadow. Maybe not. Yeah, I like to leave an edge or two untouched. That's just something that I personally happen to like. Let's go between these fingers some. I always like to emphasize where that bend is at the knuckle. It doesn't mean that you need the shaping precisely there at the knuckle, but something along those lines will give your fingers a lot more of a good look. So even if the knuckle is not very noticeable, if you can make some bit of a bend, depending on how the hand is posed, it'll nearly always be to your benefit. I know some of you want to jump in and, I think I'll deepen this a little bit. Some of you wanted, while it's wet, see, I can just add a little more. I'm adding a little more red. Fingers have got a lot of pink in them. Look at mine. I mean, flaming red. Okay, so maybe there. Some of you are wanting to jump in and paint grandchildren. I really recommend painting some adults for a while till you get the hang of it, because there's nothing grosser than a poorly painted child. They look like they're about 50 instead of 3. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying that a large number of people usually are in over their heads until they've got some practice doing this. And I don't know if I got that enough darker, but we're going to do other things because obviously he's too red. And this is usually where people are reaching a point and they're freaking out and they're wanting to go put some other color in, mix up some gray or some brown or something. Oh gosh, don't do that. I'm going to get you there in a few minutes. See another spot or two where I might just... Okay, something like that. Okay, so the next step would be for me to go dry it, of course. Okay, I think that now I'm going to put some darks in around the eyes, and I'm going to get the iris of the eyes dark. Let's do that next. And then we'll pick up make some color changes. Now, I do some of this color stuff by layering. It doesn't mean, though, that you couldn't just mix some color together and work. Layering to get a color. I think it's a pretty easy thing, but maybe it's not. Do what works for you, but I would get you to try, at least give a shot at layering. And when you make a water neutral brush out of a round, you got to really squeeze that body. I think I don't want that light on the outer edge there. And this is going to need we're going to mix some browns and put in here pretty soon, but I think we could use a little, well, actually quite a bit more red. Goodness, right in here. Oh, a lot more. Again, I could use this brush to soften edges with. I could also use my flat, though. I really prefer a flat for this. And this ear is a lot darker. See how much darker that ear is? And it's redder. Or it looks very reddish there. It's so dark that it doesn't look bright red like what we're doing, but we're going to fix that in a minute. Let's go ahead and add some reds in, a little bit of shading on the ear. One of the things about ears that you need to watch yourself on is that there is a tendency for people to make ears too shaped. Too much contrast in the shape. It's sort of like, oh, this ear is going to be easy, and so I can get carried away with it, and I can make all these little shapes in here, and I'm so proud of myself because they're shaped just like an ear. The only problem is the ear will look plastic because you've gone and gotten it too high contrast. See, this area right here is still darker. I don't have my mix very strong here. I could probably have this mix stronger here, and it would probably be a good thing. I think I want more color there too. So I'll soften most of those edges, maybe not every one of them. And there's a little extra dark spot right there. Oh, in fact, the chin needs more color. Oh. You see, the more I look at it, the more I see for places to shape to make it better. And that's what you will do too. So one of the things that you are doing is that you're doing nearly all of your shaping with reds. And this can seem a little strange, a little scary. Some people just can't quite stand to do it. And see, I could leave some of those places all hard edges if I wanted to. Let's put a little more right. Yeah, right there. Let's come up a little higher there. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's better. That's probably, this little area here is probably stands out a little too much. And you know what? This whole side right there could go dark. Let's just take a dark swipe at it there. And while we're doing it, we'll come over that highlighted area. And just all that did was, because we did it all at the same time, all that did was to weaken that area right here. So it doesn't stand out quite so much because it was standing out a little too much. Okay, I'm bothered about the whites of the eyes. I think I'm going to put just a touch more of the peach in here on the eyes. Boy, I don't want much. In fact, I'll pull a little of that up. I think that's probably about right. Okay, his shaping is looking better there, isn't it? Let's look at the hands. And I'm not paying as much attention to them other than to show you how to shape them. But I'm trying to keep the video into a length that I can download. Of course, I guess I could do 2 of them. I have to do them one at a time, though, because the memory on this doesn't, well, it causes problems. It's a long story. Okay, so here I'll just... So you'll notice what I'm doing with the red is I'm not making the same big jumps that I did here. This is a lot... It's the layers of red are weaker, and so I'm getting some softer edges built up. Oh, goodness, this. Let's put a hard-edged shadow right here. It could almost be hard-edged. And a hard-edged shadow just has a nice, creates a nice pop. So, okay. Yeah, I definitely want more down here. But I won't try to cover over exactly the same place on these lines. I will paint similar areas, but I might find some places that need more color. And some places, where I might cover a bigger area, and some places where I might cover a smaller area. And that'll create more variation, and it has the same effect as if you were softening edges, because the whole piece becomes softer, but it's got all these nice playful strokes, which I like. So I think he's good enough to, oh, well, of course, if I keep looking, He definitely needs more mouth to nose line, and then he needs a little more color here at the corner of his mouth on this side. Maybe this is the droopy side of his head. Maybe he's right-handed. You know, the non-dominant side tends to droop more as we age, as I've discovered. Okay. So, I really recommend starting out on older people first. Then when you do kids, you're going to do them a little differently, but you need more awareness of shapes. And little kids, I do a lot more wet and wet, generally. Okay, I could do more of that. Oh, gee, yeah. Let's do just a little bit more. Oops. Well, that may be a big mess up. Yeah. That wasn't too good. Okay, I'm going to blot that. There. Okay, that's pretty good right there. I don't know how it looks on camera, but this is where I am. I'm going to dry it, and then we're going to change up colors. Okay, change of plans. I know, I promised one thing. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put some darks in here around the eyes and the bottom of the mustache and a little bit of darks. And then I'm going to download this video and then go make another one. I have to make them one at a time. So let's see what I've got here. I've got some darks already over here. Let's put, in fact, his eyes are actually kind of blue toned. Not that I care, but I guess I should. Let's put a little bit. Okay, let's use this. It's got a little bit of Prussian blue in it. This was from our gray mixtures that we were doing before. On the study, although it's not gray, but it's the same colors. There's just more blue in them, and some of you are already using that. Oh dear. Okay, that's a little dark. It looks a tiny bit small. Well, if it's a tiny bit dark, let's blot it. Ah, much better. Much better. Whoops. Tried to get a little larger and I may have overdone it. I think I'm going to put a little drop of water in here. So right now he looks like he's got little bitty beady eyes because the color framing the eyes is too light. So now we're just going to take some of that same mixture that's only it's more on the brown side. That's what we used over here. And so let's start putting that in. Let me get this down close. Okay, you can see. Guy's got pretty good eyelashes. Let's try again. Add a little color out here. We're not adding in individual lashes. I'm kind of doing something here though. Let's smudge it and get some shadow in around here. Okay, there, that suits me. This area's in shadow. Again, I'm just going to add a little water. And here's where we could also add a little tiny bit of shadow right here. Again, that's just a little bit too dark. We'll just adjust it a little bit. Okay, so that's beginning to look a little more human, right? There's nothing worse than getting the nostril too dark like that. That's just a bad, bad look. Oops. Well, I better wet it and blot it again. Okay, I think that'll be all right. Maybe I should thin my paint down over here just a little bit. Because, see, what I'm doing is I'm popping in some of the little dark places. But I don't want to start covering all the skin with this little dark brownish color that I've got mixed up here. That would really ruin the whole look. So we'll get some dark in here on the eyebrow. And I've got nothing against pulling that eyebrow. Almost feels like it runs right up in under the hat. I can't tell quite what's going on. It looks like he's got a fairly thick eyebrow, and then it connects to the shadow under the hat. And you don't quite know where one ends and the other starts. And you don't have to know. You just have to put something similar, some similar shapes down, and that'll make it all happen. There's kind of a connection right here. He's really got very pretty eyes. And then let's take a tiny bit on the tip of the brush. And let's make this tear duct in here. Make sure you give him a whole real tear duct there. Okay, there's a little bit more dark over. This is the wrong color for the mustache. I'm just sort of finding the boundaries of the mustache there. I'm not going to do a lot to it yet. I'm going to need to fix that other eye. And notice that the two eyes don't match for multiple reasons. One, no two sides of our face match, but also just the perspective on it's a little bit different. Because the head's not flat right across there. It's got some curvature. Got quite a bit of shadow over here. See, this takes a little bit of time. If you get in a hurry, you miss a lot of stuff. I worry about some of you hurrying too much. Because this is about seeing, and sometimes you have to spend some significant time looking in order to see. And so people that are too fast, and I'm not saying that you can't be a fast painter, but you need to know your subject first. I mean, I paint relatively fast sometimes, and there are times when they actually encourage you to paint fast in order to skip around some of that left brain stuff. Oh, I missed and got his eyebrow. See, this eyebrow really is running up into the hat. And that doesn't mean that that's as dark as I'll get his eyebrow. That's a beginnings. Although, we'll see. We're just looking for a nice, believable balance. I'm sure that I'm going to want to do other things. Okay, let's pull in this tear duct. And notice the shape of the tear duct, okay? I don't want to see any little pointy football eyes on here. Yeah, that's pretty good. I'd like a little bit of shape right there. Have to be careful with that, though. You can get that overdone, and then it just looks like, well, not good. All right, so I'm going to stop and dry this and download this part of the video. Oh, and don't forget, yeah, I said I was going to. Don't forget, you can put in a little deeper stuff down here too. Here's a little dark spot right there. See, this is extra dark here. There's actually a pretty strong shadow there. I'm okay putting that in this reddish brown tone. Let's break the edge on that a little bit though. Maybe blot. Yeah, okay. That may be a little more blotting than I wanted. I'll pick up a little red and put in it. Yeah, I like red on the fingers. There's a little bit of a shadow there under that ring, which I've killed that ring. I should have, you know, if you're gonna have diamonds there, it'd be easier to mask them off. I don't care about his diamonds one way or the other. I don't even know him. What this probably tells me is that I probably need stronger shadow down here when I look at this. You see how those little bits of, those little tiny pops of dark? And don't make them lines. Don't make a line all the way down. Make some, see, one area is thicker. Maybe you skip a little bit of it, even if it doesn't skip on the picture. You make a little thicker part here, and then you make a little shape there. Don't make it one thickness all the way down, and find a place to break through the line. I just kind of do that naturally. But it's a really, really good habit. Now that looks like an outline there, but that's just where one color's overlapping another. And if I went and painted this in dark around here, that wouldn't show. I'm not going to bother with that, but just so you know. Again, don't make a line, you know, make something that, oh, here, I'm not painting it where you can see it, am I? Don't make just a, whoop, get a little more paint on here. Don't like come along and make an outline like that, you know, another outline all the way down like that, and another outline, you know, and then it looks funky. But if you just make a bit of a thick area, a thin area, disappeared area, you know, come back with a thicker area, little things like that, it'll make a good painting. That won't make a good painting on anything. Just consider that just a bad habit to start making divisions, like divisions on daisy petals or something. It'll just not be good. All right, so now I'm going to dry this and download this part of the video.